So, hi everyone, welcome to this Komoot Campfire with our ambassadors Jenny Toff and Sofiane Sehili. My name is Matthias, and I manage the Komoot community in France, hence the accent. But I'm not alone. We are two people from Komoot to host this session, as my co-host represents the other side of the channel, Eleanor. Can you hear?
Hello.
Hey, cool to have you. Actually, we have quite a big crowd tonight, so thanks a lot for the attending. Like, we're still expecting a few more, but still a big crowd tonight. So thanks a lot. But you're not here to hear stories from us, Ellen and I, but rather from two people who share the same passion for long distance cycling and for bikepacking in general. I'd say they both won the Atlas Mountain Race in their respective rankings a few months ago. We should know that, I think, but. We guess that they will have like extra topics to share with you in their conversation tonight. So Jenny, Sofiane, how are you? Can you hear us?
Hey guys.
Hi, yeah, how you doing?
Awesome. So yeah, how are you? Do you feel well? Ready for tonight?
Yeah, I've talked about this, yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, basically we're going to spark this conversation with Elle with a few questions, but the most relevant questions are yours, guys. So in the bottom of your screen, you can see a Q&A button at the bottom. So maybe the letters will be different if you're French or German, for example, but basically it's like a Q&A or a QAR, for example. So basically it's your way to ask question to our guests tonight. So don't hesitate to ask for whatever you want, whenever you want. It's our job, Elle and I, to try to pop in the conversation to bring your question to them. I know like the guests are quite talkative, so we'll try not to disturb them a lot, but yeah, feel free to ask whatever you want. So I think everyone is ready, shall we, guys?
Yeah, start.
Cool. Like basically first question, like it's an obvious one, but still I think quite relevant considering the situation. How are you two dealing with this lockdown situation? Like, can you manage to exercise properly? Are you feeling maybe frustrated, or is it bearable? Maybe Jenny, can you start? And then you're free.
Yeah, so in the UK, so I'm Scottish based, so in the UK we're still allowed to exercise once a day, so I'm still doing loads of riding, loads of running. Obviously for me mentally it's quite shit that we can't travel, because this is the time of year that I'd be doing quite a lot of traveling and events, but you know, it is really hard to complain for me, so I'm kind of taking it day by day. I think having done quite a lot of solo endurance challenges, I'm finding quite a lot of parallels between slogging through that stuff and slogging through this, so I'm kind of just making the most of it right now and just taking it day by day.
Yeah, well, the situation is a bit different here in France, as we are not allowed to ride our bikes for a recreational purpose. We're only allowed to ride in a 1 kilometer radius, which is well, very limited, obviously, for 1 hour every day. So it's kind of hard to stay in shape. I'm locked down in a big house in Normandy, so that's definitely better than being in my small flat in Paris, sure. But yeah, well, I'm lucky to be there because you know, the closest supermarket is 10K away, so that's a 20K ride every once in a while. And I started running too. I had never run before, so there's that. Now I do. I go on runs. So yeah, I just had to stay active, stay in shape. I'm still, you know, it's a tough situation, but I feel I'm still lucky to be in the countryside rather than locked down in a small apartment in the city.
You should be careful. Jenny might try and talk you into doing her type 2 fun run.
Yeah, running's awesome.
I'm not there yet, but who knows?
Easy, man. You can ride, you can run. I'll sign you up.
All right, let's do this.
Well, we can imagine that this whole situation, this whole crisis, is kind of rewriting most of your plans for the rest of the year. How you're dealing with this?
Again, I'm just taking it day by day. Like, nobody really knows what the future holds. I mean, definitely, we know that this is a long-term change in travel plans, at least. But again, I'm lucky to be in Scotland. So, you know, if I don't do international travel this year, that's fine. I can be completely positive about doing bikepacking trips around Scotland and doing stuff locally and focusing more on like from your front door kind of adventures. So, I'm actually looking forward to that challenge instead, and just trying not to be selfish and bummed out if I can't travel.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I had a really busy schedule for this year. I was supposed to I mean, after the Atlas Mountain Race, I was supposed to go on a 1 day gravel race in the north of France called the Mountainy Bootleggers. Then I had Biking Man Corsica on my calendar, and I signed up for the Highland Trail 550 as well. I was supposed to go on the Tour Divide. I was hoping to go on Three Peaks Bike Race as well. So races, loads of racing, and well, pretty much all of it is canceled. So I just go day by day. I look at the events that are not postponed or canceled. But even if like you look at Hope 1000, which used to be Nevada 1000 in Switzerland, it's supposed to go on, supposed to happen. But then there's the question of reopening the borders. The borders are now closed, so even if there's an event in Switzerland, I'm not sure that I can go there. So it's just a matter of trying to keep an eye out, see what's going to happen, see if I can go there. And I mean, worst case scenario, if the borders stay closed, I'm just going to race somewhere in France. There's the French Divide that I'd love to do someday. So maybe this is going to be the year for it.
Yeah, like everything like is kind of on hold like until September in France, like for those who don't know. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's basically the same thing in the UK. Yeah. Like Sofiane, maybe this one is for you to start, but is it possible to hold back like the competition spirit in these kind of moments? I know you have a strong competition spirit, but
it's tough, I mean, I had a really good year in 2019, and then the start of this year was really good as well. And I want to keep that momentum. I feel that I've been in the sport for 4 years now, and I learned slowly, but finally it paid off. And I'm just eager to go back and compete again. And it's just tough to sit out and wait for it to be over, when I know that used to be in shape. I mean, I'm not in as good as a shape as I'd like to be with the restriction of riding in France. But yeah, it's just tough to know that you figured things out about your racing, about your strategy and stuff like that, and that you're at the top of your game and you can't compete. It's definitely not easy.
There's actually a really good related question from Charles asking if rivalries exist in long distance endurance races, or whether you primarily compete against yourself.
What do you think, Jenny?
Well, I mean, for me, my mental headspace is that I'm always just competing against myself and the challenge. But if you're a woman in the sport, it gets really intense, because whether or not you want to be in a race, being that there's so many fewer competitors to be compared against, the dot watchers especially do really build up a women's race. So, the Atlas race, there were 12 of us total, if you include the women that were in pairs. So you do kind of feel that intensity and that pressure, even if, at the same time, all 12 of us were really excited to meet each other and to hang out, because only 12 women in the whole world want to do that race. So we all had like an instant bond. But at the same time, there was so much pressure, and like, especially towards the end, that Andre and I got so close to each other that I didn't enter the race wanting to race her, but that last day, I think I only thought about her the whole way.
I think primarily bikepacking races, this is about challenging yourself primarily. That's why you start doing it, and that's your first opponent is yourself. You go into these races not knowing what you're capable of, and I mean, every time you discover new boundaries that you try to push, The first time that I slept 3 days without sleeping, I had no idea that it was possible. And that's, I would say, the primary goal when you sign up for these adventures, is just to see how far you can push yourself. And then definitely there's a rivalry when you're good at this and you compete, and you have, guys chasing you, or you're chasing guys. But it's always, a nice rivalry. I mean, if people followed the Itzel Divide last year in 2019, I raced it, and we finished together with James Hayden after giving all we got on the last climb. He attacked, and he tried to drop me, and I managed to stay in his wheel, and we got to the top of the last climb, and it was like, all right, man, we did our best, and then let's do this, let's finish together. And it's, I feel that we're opponents, but most of the guys that I know that I compete against, I consider them as friends, and there's no, it's something that is very healthy. It's a healthy rivalry that is in bike packing. There's no hard feelings, and just guys that are usually, I mean, when you're into that kind of stuff, that just going out there on your bike by yourself with just a little bit of luggage, and just willing to discover new places, and just being out there and challenging yourself. And that's the kind of mentality, that's the kind of spirit that mostly, I would say, good guys have. So I mean, we want to challenge ourselves, we want to win, but it's not like you're willing to do anything to win. There's just, first you just want to see what you're capable of.
Okay, so before we go completely far away from the first topic, the lockdown topic, I have a quick one from Josie McKinney. What are your opinions on music platforms like Zwift and stuff like that for ultra training? It's pretty famous right now, but we'll talk about race later. But just a quick one. What's your opinion on Zwift?
Zwift.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea. I mean, I definitely can't handle very long sessions on turbo trainers. I'm certainly trying now. I think it's really great. If you can do anything to make me stay on a turbo trainer longer than 20 minutes, then that's cool. I'm not really on it, but let's see how long the lockdown lasts. Maybe I will be.
Yeah, cycling for me, it's about being outside. I don't have a home trainer. I've never been on Zwift, and I probably never will be. I just want to be outside. I mean, I'd rather, if I started running, because I was for a long time, for 38 years, running. Why would I run? So if I started running, it's yeah. I mean, I'd rather run than go on than just cycle in my living room. So I mean, it's pretty cool that people like Zwift, but it's not something I want to do.
Are you saying that you've got so desperate that you've had to take up running?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your rock bottom for you.
Let's go straight into the racing topic. So basically, we the both of you are here because you share the same victory, as you both finished first in your respective rankings of the Atlas Mountain Race. This was in February, right? I assume that this does feel really far away already because it was kind of short race. What's your feeling about this? Is it far away in your mind?
Yeah, it feels pretty remote now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like a different. I mean, so much has happened, and it's weird because it's just so little has happened, and yet it feels like it's so much. Because it's. We've been doing. As for myself, I've been doing nothing. But just having so many informations coming, and just living such an historic moment, that it's weird. I feel like being on a bike packing trip in Morocco, which it's just something that is so normal for me, it seems so far away from that really weird situation that we are in right now.
Do you have any particular memories that are standing out as more vivid than the others? Anything that you keep replaying or almost cherishing now that you can't go out and explore?
I think they all kind of blend into one for me, but it was, I mean, it does feel like a lifetime ago because the world was a totally different place. That, yeah, we were doing what's normal for people like Sof and I. We were, bike packing in a foreign country. But then also doing it with I'm sure it was lonely for you, Sof, but where I was riding, there was like lots and lots of other cyclists around me. And so I was socializing more than I actually do in my normal day-to-day life. And I was outside in the sun and I was traveling and I was moving and being kind of the ultimate freedom and the ultimate happiness. So I think that's just kind of how it plays in my mind, is just kind of like that loop of what the day-to-day life was on the road and just how different that is from the world that we live in now.
I don't think I have a special moment of the race that keeps playing in my mind. I wouldn't say it's a big blur, but I just don't think of this race very much. Maybe because there's just the world right now is just in such a different place that my mind keeps getting busy about what will the future look like when I will be I don't know when I will be able to just race again, when I'd be able to cross the border. Probably I'm first gonna be able to travel in my own country, then I'm gonna be able to travel in Europe, and then I'm gonna be able to travel outside Europe. But it's just like, it seems so unclear that I just don't really think too much of the past and more about what can happen in the future,
Just different topic. Like, you guys have done a lot of interviews about like the AMR now, like with different sponsors, different magazines. I think, Sofiane, you're kind of fed up of answering questions of sleep deprivation.
Yes, I am.
Totally understandable. Are you on caffeine right now? Like, I think one thing nobody asked you about and somehow seems really important for you guys is the importance of music. I think I have, like, basically, if you look at this picture, you still have your earphones on you all the time. So where do you put music actually in terms of like strategy, in terms of well-being in general in these races? Is it something important for you guys?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Essential.
There you go.
Unless I'm riding with someone that's got good chat, I'm probably listening to music almost the whole time. It's only really during sunrise and sunset that are kind of like my hours that I'll switch off and just be totally present. But music is really fabulous for being able to manipulate your mood. So if you need to be in a different mood than the one that you're in, so like if you're tired, you can obviously use music to bring you back. If you're bored, or if you're like not having the best time, you're in pain, or you're grumpy, whatever it is, like there's so many different ways you can use music to manipulate that. So that's definitely something that I rely on as pretty big crutch, and something that can definitely contribute to your enjoyment in the ride as well. So I think I actually ride with two smartphones. I have like a really old smartphone that's my backup navigation, but it's also so I don't feel guilty about how much battery power I waste on music pretty much all day.
Yeah, music is really important to me. My first bikepacking race, which was Tour de Vai 2016, I had troubles with my phone, actually with my memory card. All my music was on my memory card and it stopped working, and I had to race pretty much all of the race without music, and it was so hard. It was like really, really hard. I mean, having raced all of my other races with music, like Jenny says, it's just such a nice tool to put you in the right mood, When I was, for example, when I was racing Trans Am, I would start the day without music and ride for maybe a couple of hours, and then after a couple of hours, I was like, okay, so it was nice, but now I need something, something more than just the landscape and the noises of the wind in the trees and the animals and then the birds. I just need something different, and then I would put on the music, and the music is just yeah. And even when I get sleepy sometimes at night, the right kind of music, it will wake me up. And if I get really really sleepy, there's something that works really well for me. It's singing. I just start singing as loud as I can, which is pretty. It's pretty cool when you're bikepacking somewhere remote and it's 2 a.m. There's no one around. There's no one to judge your singing voice. So yeah, I do. Yeah, when I'm desperate and I feel like I'm gonna fall asleep on my bike, I start singing and it wakes me up. And yeah, the music. I mean, it's just when you don't have it, when you're used to have it, and you don't have it, you're deprived of the music. It's just so tough.
And we all know, Sofiane, that you like to sing Lionel Richie to yourself.
I do, yeah.
But what kind of music do you actually listen to? Do you have like a go-to playlist for picking you up when you're feeling rubbish, or if you're feeling on top of the world? Like what music are you listening to?
Yeah, I do listen to stuff that are kind of pushy, like rock music, metal, punk, hardcore, stuff that has some kind of energy to it. That's what I like when I'm writing. If the mood is a bit different, and if it's dark and lonely, and I feel that I'm not gonna fall asleep, I can switch to something that is more mellow and just appreciate something that is quieter. But yeah, mostly it's some stuff that is based on rock and very loud.
I think my biggest fear in getting into like an accident on my bike is that someone's going to pick up my phone and see how dorky my playlist actually was. I'm not going to disclose what's on it.
So you won't tell any single song, at least one guilty pleasure.
Just one.
If you were allowed to have one song on your phone to listen to, Jenny, what would it be?
Probably a Fleetwood Mac tune. If I could have just one, Go Your Own Way. It always keeps me riding. That would be my one.
That's a good choice.
I think I don't know how long I would last on one song. I think I would probably get an hour out of it before I have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I was allowed one song, that wouldn't last me very long. I would say one song that I was always happy that when it came back on my playlist to listen to was Kings of Leon, Super Soaker. That one, it just wakes me up instantly, and I start singing, and that would be one of my go-to songs. With music, I would say music. It's for me, it's weird. I mean, some songs that I they're really tied to a place, and one trip. And for example, there's this place on the Tour de Vida that is called Ovando. That's in Montana, and you ride outside of Ovando, and there's these fields, and when you're there in late June, it's kind of golden, and if it's sunny, it's really beautiful. And I had this one song by a guy called Lonely Deer, and I remember just riding through these fields, going outside of Ovando, and there's the climb that Montana in on the Tour de Vida, just climbs after climbs, and that was one of the few flat sections of Montana, and I remember listening to this song, and I have like maybe 5, 6, 7 songs that are really tied to a place. For example, one song about a guy that is called King Creosote, that is tied to a tiny village in an island in Indonesia, and yeah, just once in a while, I listen to something somewhere, and there's just this bond, you know, these two, this moment that I live, where the song is perfect for the place, and then it creates a lasting memory. And every time that I hear the song afterwards, I think of that place.
Yeah, you can reactivate the memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about podcasts? Are they good, like to make a presence around you when you're riding, or you're not using podcasts?
I love podcasts. I mean, I got into them when I was doing solo expeditions where I was going like many days without even speaking out loud to anyone whatsoever. And if I did meet anyone, they didn't speak any languages that I knew. So I think after days or weeks of that, I started to really think I was losing my mind. And so podcasts I find are really good, especially if you're doing something that's quite lonely or quite like you're just in really intense solitude, just because then you're hearing a conversation. And even though you're not part of it, it still just kind of connects you to the human tribe a little bit more. So I find podcasts can be really good for that and keeping your brain stimulated, because I'll just switch off and be like dumb for days, like, and do nothing but stare at my handlebars. So yeah, I really quite like a good podcast.
I don't really listen to podcasts actually. Maybe on one trip, I would listen to the podcast of one radio show that I listen to when I'm in Paris. That is about football, but that's pretty much the only thing the only podcast that I would listen to while on the trip. I just listen to music actually.
Okay, but like we talked about music, we talked about podcasts. We understood that you can get moody sometimes while riding. Do you have like maybe other solutions to like control the mood somehow apart from them?
It's tough. I don't know. When you, yeah, I mean, you don't get a lot of sleep. So I mean, for me, that's tough to be in a good mood when I don't have my sleep. So, I mean, obviously, I enjoy myself when I'm outside on my bike, but when it gets, I don't know, hard or boring, or it's just tough to switch. You know, there needs to have something needs to happen. You know, if it stays the same, if you're, for example, have 100K of headwind, it's gonna be hard to just be able to be in a good mood after 50K when you know there's still 50K of headwind. So yeah, I remember for example on the Atlas Mountain Race, going to the checkpoint 2. Like, yeah, it was checkpoint 2. It was an oasis. It was a really nice place. But going there, that really sucked for me. I mean, it was my I would say second night without sleep. So that's a tough one. And yeah, the road was I thought it was pretty boring. You know, it was always the same. Not much to look at. And then the downhill. There was a really long downhill to get to checkpoint 2, and it was really rocky. It was not a nice downhill.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's just I just needed a change, you know. And then I got on pavement and it was like, oh, that's nice. I don't have to you know, feel the bumps on my handlebars all the time, and then it's just gonna be a cruise to checkpoint 2, and then it just you just reboot, you know, just reset, and you forget about when you were frustrated and when you were on that bumpy descent and you were hating it. And it's just, you know, it's just, these races you spend 20 hours in your bike in one day, and it's just a series of moments, and you have to deal with every moment differently. And you know, most of the time you're having fun, and most of your time you're loving it, and some of the time it just sucks, and you have to wait for it to be good again.
I think the best one I ever heard was on an endurance panel, and someone said that looking after an endurance athlete, even if it's yourself, is exactly like looking after a baby. that at some point it's just going to start to cry, and it's not going to be able to tell you why it's crying, and you're just going to have to figure out, like, is it tired, is it hungry, is it bored, does it need a hug, whatever it is. And that one's always stuck with me, that you're just going to have to like troubleshoot down the list and figure out, why am I pissed off right now? I don't really know why.
That's very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, Ian has asked, do you go into these events with a plan B if for any reason things don't work out how you wanted them to? And I guess, you know, as an outsider looking at you guys, you're such accomplished ultra distance athletes, but I guess every day you're probably making decisions about something that's not quite gone to plan.
Yeah, I think a long distance, whether it's like an expedition or a race or a challenge, whatever it is, I think it's just a series of problem solving the whole way around. Like, I don't think plan A's are really practical. I think you just have to be really flexible and really adaptable the entire way. Like, things are just gonna, you know, especially if you're doing adventure racing where you don't really know the score, you've not been there before, you've not done the course. Like, this was, you know, the first edition race meant that we were all racing it blind. We didn't really know what was going to happen. So you're just problem solving as you go. Like, I think I didn't really have a plan aside from try to keep riding my bike. That was it.
Yeah, I think the first thing you learn about bike packing races is that it's never gonna go the way you think it's gonna go. Never. I mean, you have a plan. You think you're gonna ride, I don't know, 250, 350K the first day. You're not. It's not gonna happen. And I would say that gaining experience in bike packing is learning how to deal with what you actually achieve on one day or on the other day, and also trying to have, you know, all sorts of different expectations when you set out for one day and say, okay, I can do this, I can do that. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to do this, and if I can't, here is what I'm going to do. But I mean, if I look, for example, at Tour Divide 2019, it was really weird because for the first time in all of the races that I've ever been on, everything just fell into place. You know, every time I told myself, all right, I'm going to try and be in that town before dark, and then I would make it. And then I would say, okay, I'm going to try and sleep in a hotel tonight if I can cover 350Ks, and then I would make it, you know. And that just blew my mind because it was the first time that I was in a bike packing races, and just stuff happened the way that I wanted them to happen. And it lasted for a week, and then it just all came crashing, you know. And it came crashing to such an extent that I actually bailed out. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. For the people that don't know the story, I was in first place. I ended up pushing my bike for several hours in the mud, then in the snow. Then I ended up on the top of a pass during the night, and it started snowing, and I just was not equipped for these kind of temperatures and weather conditions, and I almost died, and I was like, okay, this is way too scary. This is not what I signed up for, and I'm just gonna and I'm gonna quit. And so it just goes to show you that you don't even need to have a plan A or a plan B, or just need to have like a big idea of what can happen. Because if you start coming with, you know, plan A, okay, I'm gonna ride, you know, this many kilometers on day one, and then on day two, and on day three. No, it's not gonna happen, never. So you just need to, like Jenny says, it's about problem solving. Every time you find a problem, you have to solve it, and just being adaptable, and telling yourself, all right. For example, when I set out for the Atlas Mountain Race, I was like, okay, if it lasts for around 4 days, maybe I can do it without sleep. And if it's more, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And yeah, it's just have to figure out stuff as you go.
And I assume that's what you're seeking for, guys, right? Like this kind of, I don't know, on the road mindset, like basically being away from your home a very long time, like the very simple and rough routine of packing your stuff, like figuring out every maybe like 15 times a day. I don't know. I'm pretty sure like this is this is what you seek, right?
Yeah, I think we both come from an adventure background versus an elite sport background. So I think, yeah, definitely, I'm in it for the adventure. And then I started racing because I like the concept of pushing myself while I'm adventuring. But yeah, it was always adventure first for me. So it has to be that way.
Yeah, definitely. That's. I mean, for me, transitioning to racing, that's just willing to go further and meeting the same problems that you face when you're just touring. You know, you just want to do it more and put yourself in just more problematic situations and be like, okay, if I go tour in Southeast Asia, if I'm in Thailand and I'm gonna be able to resupply every 20 or 30K, all right, that's nice. And then you start racing and you're on the Tour Divine in New Mexico and you can resupply every 200K. And then you're like, okay, so this is new for me. And I need to learn how to deal with that kind of stuff. I know how to ride when there's ton of food around. Then now I need to learn how to ride when there's almost none.
Well, like the next question is kind of like the opposite, basically. Like I don't know you really well, but I can foresee maybe a difference of opinion on that. Like, what's your relationship to home? Basically, like we can imagine that it must be weird to come home, like, well, like basically after the Atlas Mountain Race or after the Tour Divide or whatever. I don't know. I don't know you really well, but I will let you chat about that, you too. But I'm pretty sure like you have different opinions about that. Like Jenny, I think like when you come home, basically you don't feel really comfortable, like sleeping like 2 days in a row on the same room, basically.
Yeah, I think you spend most of it kind of craving home and missing the comforts of it, like missing your bed and missing things that you know. But almost as soon as I have them back, it can really come crashing down, especially if you've been away for a long time and doing something quite intense. I found it really hard to return to suddenly you've gone from being outside all the time, you've gone from moving all the time, you've gone to being in a different place every minute and sleeping in a different place every night, to suddenly coming home and just like everything's the same and everything's constant and there's no stimulus like you had before. And I always find that can really lead to like the post-adventure blues and the real dip. And so as soon as I come home, like I am really excited and I jump into my bed and I'm super excited to like be there and call everyone. But then, yeah, I think within days I usually go off on a camping trip just because I miss being outside and I find it weird that I'm inside again.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the same. I like to go on long trips, like 2, 3, 4 months, and after that kind of duration, I'm just tired of being on the road. I'm just like, okay, this was fun, this was nice, I loved it, but now it's the time to go home. I just miss my home, my friends, my family, my bed. I just miss, simple stuff like spending an evening watching TV shows and having a good meal of I'm French, so French food, I miss it a lot. when you're French, and you go on a 3 or 4 month trip abroad, and you don't have your cheese, that's tough. I mean, my chest, you can't.
Definitely understand what you say.
Yeah, you can back me up there.
Yeah.
So you need to come back home and have your cheese and yeah, I'm usually really happy when I come home. I mean, I just seeing my friends, my family, and living the simple life. And I need one and the other. I need the comfort and the routine of being home to get me back on the road. At some point, I need to be frustrated to not have that adventure in my life, to crave it again. And then I go and I'm really happy to leave. And then I live this amazing life and simple life of just packing, riding, unpacking, having dinner, going to bed, and then doing the same again and again every day, and I love it. And then I get tired of it, and I was like, okay, but now it's time to go home. And it's just this, this cycle. I need
Yeah, it's about
both,
cycles. Yeah.
and I'm happy doing both.
So speaking about food, like what's your like worst food experience ever while backpacking?
I think for me, the only problem is that if there isn't food, that's really like, I don't even know which came first, eating or cycling. I don't know which one I like more. So like, I'm good as long as there is food, but if there isn't food, then things go tits up pretty quickly for me. So that's my only problem is when you can't get any, which the AMR was a bit of an experience of like just trying to make it to the next omelet. Like, I know it wasn't that long of a race. You can survive being hungry, but like, we were long hours without anything. I hated that.
Do you carry like emergency rations, like a few emergency gels, like stashed somewhere, or?
Yeah, I definitely have a rule about the last Cliff Bar or like whatever brand it is, but like there's always one thing that I say like that under no circumstances can I touch. Like that's literally for an emergency. So yeah, I do always have that emergency ration for if things really do go tits up and I'm not going to get fed.
Do you have an
I hope
emergency
I'm not
cheese
gonna.
plan?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I hope I'm not gonna insult anyone, but yeah, I've been to Colombia, and the food there is terrible. Just like you wouldn't imagine. It's quite amazing because you have Peru and then you have Colombia, and they do share a border, and the food in Peru is amazing, and the food in Colombia is just terrible. And even Colombians will tell you, with our food is not good. So yeah, I would say that yeah, it definitely was tough to cycle through Colombia. And yeah, one of my yeah worst memories about food. I was cycling in Thailand, and I stopped in a market, in a food market, in a night market, and I ordered some papaya salad, which is they call samtam in Thailand. And I was a newbie, so I didn't know how to ask for not spicy, which if you're ever in Thailand, it's my pet. You say my pet, and then they're gonna hold up the chilies. So I just asked for the papaya salad, and it just set my whole face on fire. Like, I had the papaya salad, and I had a bowl of water, and I was just eating a spoon of papaya salad, and then drinking water. It was just horrible. It's terrible. I mean, I love Thai food, but yeah, if you travel there, especially if you're cycling and you're in non-touristy places, and that's the best places, definitely, that it is. You need to speak a little bit of Thai to ask them to go easy on the chilies.
Like, last question about food. Actually, like you were the two of you were on the AMR, but basically, Sofiane, you're the only one to speak French properly. Do you think that there was an advantage somewhere like by speaking French to order food and to just to behave in Morocco in general? That's the question from one of the attendees here.
Yeah, actually, I speak French, and from my background, my parents are both born in Algeria, and my grandmother actually did not speak French, so I do speak a tiny bit of Arabic, and I do feel it was a bit of an advantage. Definitely, some of the places it would be nice to speak French because they obviously understand it better than English, and in some even more remote places where French is not helpful, I could rely on just a little bit of Arabic. And there's actually it was a bit funny. I remember on the first night, I get to a gas station, and I get to that gas station, and there's already three riders there. There's Lawrence Van Gogh from Belgium. There's Mattia De Marchi from Italy, and there's JP from USA, and they're trying to order stuff. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna come in, and I'm gonna speak just a little tiny bit of Arabic to order my food and my drinks. And I knew that it was gonna play in JP's mind, and JP was gonna be like, oh, he has an advantage here. He speaks the language, and I was kind of happy. I mean, it's all cool with JP, but I was kind of happy to to mess a little bit with his mind and be like, I knew he would not like it to know that I would have a little advantage on the terrain.
Awesome. I have a question from Anne. How do you feel about riding alone versus riding with others? Like, we assume that you ride alone a lot. Do you too? But maybe you have a preference between like just riding alone and riding with people around you. Simple question, but still.
I think they both have their advantage, and I think it's good to be good at both of them. Certainly in a race or something that's really intense, I do prefer to go solo and just be like on my own terms and taking care of myself, and I like that challenge. And I think in the races we do, I know that there's a pairs category, and the pairs are always like really fun people to meet, but the integrity of the race really is on the solo riders, so I like doing it that way. But if I'm socially riding, or if I mean, that's the funny thing about this, is that you are solo, but actually, like the AMR, especially being such a short race with so many people, it was a really social event. Like, I was talking to people all day long. So that, I think that for me is a good happy medium, that I get to meet lots of awesome riders, but we don't have to wait for each other or deal with each other's problems. Just kind of like have people to chat to. And that's really, the best part, is meeting cool people.
I'm not a big fan of group riding, actually. I mean, it's okay once in a while for, social ride, like 60, 80, 100K, stuff like that. The problem is when there's, I mean, the more people and the slower the ride, if you have like 4 people, it's okay. And as soon as you add a couple extra, then there's going to be more stops, because, someone needs to pee, and then someone has a flat. And I mean, I'm just so used to ride by myself and just go at my own pace and not stop. I mean, even if it's just leisurely bikepacking trip, not going very far, or even if I just ride for pleasure, I stop very often. I just don't like to stop. So the more people you have, and the more you stop, that's just pure logic, and you can't do anything about that. So I mean, I definitely like to ride by myself, and this is what I prefer by far.
Okay.
What about in your personal friendships? Do you like surrounding yourselves with fellow adventure athletes, or do you prefer to have friendships with normal people who you can chill out and watch TV with?
Almost everyone in my social circle is like way stronger than I am. I think that really does help me, that like, no matter what I achieve on a bike, I always feel kind of shit about it, because almost everyone I know can do way better. So like, I'm always being pushed, and I think there's a huge advantage to that. And it's also really good when you come up with an idea to do something like this, say like, I'm going to do this race around Morocco all by myself, blah, blah, blah. It's really good if you've got friends that are just like, oh yeah, cool, which bike are you going to ride? Rather than doing that, oh my God, are you crazy? I think it's nice to surround yourself with people that just totally get it and get what you're up to.
Yeah, it must be nice. I have to say that I don't know a lot of people that are into adventures. I do know a lot of cyclists, being a bike messenger. What's funny is that my closest cycling friends don't really care about what I do. Whenever I go on a race or on a trip, and then I come back to Paris, and we go and we have drinks, or we go out on a restaurant, they don't really ask questions about the race or about the trip. They don't really care about what I do. But
that's a relief for you?
Well, I don't mind. At least I just don't mind that they don't care. I mean, but yeah, maybe it's a relief. Maybe it's nice to be able to talk about something else with my friends. I definitely would love to know more people that are about, not specifically adventure cycling, but just going for long trips on in remote places, and I do have a friend in Switzerland that I met through ultra cycling that is into adventure and that started with mountaineering and has loads of stories. And it's always I love to visit him in Switzerland because we share stories of faraway places, and it's always nice. But I don't really have a lot of friends like that.
Well, Jenny, you mentioned that the important question that your friends asked, which bike are you going to ride? We're getting a lot of questions from the floor about the bikes that you chose, everything down at flat versus drop bars, frame material, tire width. Are you do you guys be able to talk through a little bit of your bike choice? And one person's asking, if you could have any bike in the world to do it on again, would you choose differently?
I think because it was a first time race, there wasn't any guarantees to know exactly what was the right bike. So for me, I had a really hard time deciding between my mountain bike and my gravel adventure bike, but the Stussy that I rode in the end, so it's, those who don't know, it's just a steel drop bar adventure gravel bike. I raced the Silk Road on it and I raced the Transatlantic Way on it. So I've done a lot on it, whereas my mountain bike I was kind of new to, and as much as I loved it, I just knew I could do really long hours on the Stussy because I already have. So that was what my choice came down to. If I had my time back, I might consider the mountain bike with rigid bars. Like I didn't really want suspension, but I did want bigger tires. But I mean, there isn't any perfect bike. I think that's something that people really need to get past when you're doing a race of this length, is that there are going to be parts that are uncomfortable and there's going to be parts where you have the advantage. So just like, you know, as they say, the best bike is the bike that you have. So that was kind of why I took the Stussy.
How big were your tires?
I don't remember.
They look skinny.
No,
Like,
I mean, it was the exact same tires, like a new pair, but the exact ones that I took on the Silk Road as well. Yeah. So I just knew, like, obviously my Silk Road memory was so hazy by that point that I just thought, well, whatever, like I won that without a mechanical, so like I'll just do the exact same again. It'll be fine.
Just and, looking at the tires, they look a bit skinnier than I would like. I decided to go with the mountain bike because I find out with the racing that, you know, the little bit of speed that you're gonna lose by having bigger tires. I mean, just the comfort that you have, and it allows you to stay on the bike. That's just you're just gonna get it back, you know. And I was rather happy with my setup. If I could change anything, I would probably bring sturdier tires. I had Racing Ralphs, which are really fast mountain bike tires, but they're a bit fragile. So I would probably bring, you know, more sturdy tires. And suspension fork would be nice. Definitely, I would love it. Yeah, if I was to do it again, I would definitely bring a suspension fork. I think that James Hayden's setup was the right setup, and I would probably actually get rid of the aero bars because I ended up almost never using the aero bars. I just remember that long stretch after CP2. You get to CP2, and then you have that climb, and then you get on tarmac, and I think it's 50 of 60K of tarmac. And that's probably the only time where I used the aero bars, but I ended up not using them enough to justify their presence. So I would, for me, the right setup would be mountain bike, 225s, suspension fork, light suspension fork, and just flat bars, no aero bars.
You need some bar ends as well. To be a
bar ends as well. Yeah, I like bar ends.
Proper mountain bike packer.
Yeah.
And do both of you ride with a dynamo, or do you choose battery packs and like rechargeables?
I did. I mean, honestly, if you're off-road, and I found it in the Silk Road as well, that it's probably better to just have battery packs or solar even. But just because I already had a dynamo, and actually the only front wheel I owned is a dynamo, so it was like there anyways. But I wouldn't go buy one for a race like this. Like the amount of time I actually spent charging you know, because you've got climbs that are lasting you hours and hours and hours where you're not going to charge anything and everything's going to die in the night. So I think you're better off with getting your energy another way.
Yeah, I started racing with dyno hubs, and I ended up having a lot of troubles. I had troubles with either the light or the charging port or the hub in itself or the wiring, but it never held up. Actually, I just had too many problems with the dynamo hub setup, and I decided that I would just switch to battery lights and battery packs, and I don't think that it's a better option. I just think that it just there's just less problems there. You just less faffing around. It's just more reliable, and that's what I need. I need the reliability more than the really bright beam of light. The really bright beam of light is nice, but if it lasts for one night instead of 4, I'd rather have something that is not as bright, but I know will burn for 4 nights.
And would that also mean that you would be against electronic shifting, things like Di2 or power meters? A few people interested in those for ultra distance.
I have no idea how to use a power meter. I'm just not really a cyclist, so I'm really sorry, but like I've got no chat there. But Di2, like, yeah, I mean, my left hand is only just coming back from that race. So like, I know a lot of people are really terrified of the risk of Di2, but I mean, I don't know how valid that is. And ultimately you do have to accept that everything on your bike can break. And I think people get really kind of like, oh, you can't have this and that because it might break. And then what are you going to do? Like, this is a race, like take some risk. I wouldn't worry about my Di2. Like I have it on my road bike and I really love it. And like I said, my left hand really wishes that I'd had it on this race.
I do not agree at all. I feel that I like the reliability, and I like being able to fix something that goes wrong. And the Di2, I cannot fix it. And just I feel that switching gears, shifting gears with a cable is something that is really simple and really reliable. It works. It works when you set off for the race, and it will continue working throughout the duration of the race. And if it stops working, you know how to fix it. And it's easy, it's light, and for me, the Di2, the electronic shifting, that would be putting something just like a new risk, something that I know will work 100% of the time, which is mechanical shifting. Then I would take electronic shifting, which I know can fail for no reason, and then put it on my bike, and it would be just something that is a new unknown, and that's not something I would do. As for power meters, I'm really interested in power meters. I think that's the problem with when you're racing ultra is just that you can't really rely on speed. I mean, your average speed or the speed that you're climbing, because the terrain is different, and your tires and your I mean, I do most of my training on road, on tarmac, so I know everything that I need to know about tarmac, and I know how fast I'm supposed to go on a smooth, flat road when I'm rested and when I'm tired. But then when you go to mountain bike racing and you're on big tires, and the terrain is different, and you're climbing and it's rocky and it's bumpy, it's just I do not know how fast I'm supposed to go, what kind of power I'm supposed to put in. And I think that the readings that you can get on a power meter, that could be actually a good addition to kind of be more constant. And because I think I tend to get lazy at some point where I'm like, maybe I'm not pushing, but at least I'm moving. So that's that. And I just get I'm just content of keeping moving while most of the others have stopped, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not moving fast, but at least I'm moving. So I think that maybe something that I could improve would just to be able to move just maybe a tiny bit faster if I can, and a power meter could help me do that.
That's so funny. It's still a game of small gains, regardless of how long the distance is.
Yeah.
Sofiane, you use the same group for years, if I'm right.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah. Like
yeah, I bought the group
nine speed group. Yeah.
10 speed. I bought it in 2014. Actually, I bought it when I went touring the Great Divide, and I put it on a cross bike. It's an SLX, Shimano SLX 10 speed, and I think I paid like 200 euros for it. And it's been on my bike for my mountain bike. Been on my mountain bike for 6 years now. I mean, I raced it, Tour Divide 2016, and then every other mountain bike race that I did, Italy Divide, Tour Divide, Inca Divide, Atlas Mountain Race. It's that same Shimano SLX cheap 10-speed shifting, and it works. So
reliable, yeah.
Yeah, it's really reliable.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I missed something because I had to drop out because of my bad internet connection. Sorry, guys, but I don't know if you asked the question about maybe you have some models, some mentors. Is it no? I'm pretty sure you don't. Okay, so basically, like in bikepacking, maybe this pattern is kind of less relevant because the scene is still really like young compared to classic cycling. But can you think about like, I don't know, someone, maybe something actually, maybe a book you read, maybe a conversation, maybe a situation in your previous life that put you in this really specific lifestyle? Like, where do you come from, basically? Like, why did you start bikepacking? What was the sparkle, if there was a sparkle at all, actually?
Go ahead, Soph. Do you want to start? Okay, I'll start.
Sorry, I was reading. I was reading the.
Stop for a second there.
There's a guy that I know that is chatting, Vinicius. Hi, Vinicius. He was talking about the GI2, and I was reading it. I can start. No worries. I don't really have a role model when it comes to cycling. I used to watch road cycling in Tour de France when I was a kid. But I do feel that something at some point happened in my life. When I was about 20, I kind of had that a hunch that I wanted a different life. That I would not be content of having a job 9 to 5. And then you go home and then you have 5 weeks of vacation every year. And that's when you're lucky because you're in France, because when you live in the US, you don't even have that. But, and then you get a credit and you get a wife and you have a family and stuff like that. I felt that it was not what I was meant to do and not something that I was dreaming of. And I was around 20, and I remember picking up this book called Sexist by Henry Miller. And basically, it tells the story of Henry Miller, who, when he was around 33, he was just some guy working for the post office, had a wife, had a kid, and then he met this girl, and he realized that he was not living the life that he was supposed to live, and that he wanted to be a writer, and that he wanted to travel and go to Europe, and just do something else with his life. And I was 20, and when I was reading this book, and it was like, yeah, I understand that. I understand that guy that at some point got caught up in a life that maybe was not big enough for his dreams, and he felt that he needed to do something else. And I was like, reading this book and telling myself, there's something different, something that is possible, that is not the life of my parents, where you work for 40, 45 years, and then there's retirement, and that I could do something different. And I had no idea what, but I just kind of realized at that time that I was destined to do something else, and that, like Henry Miller, I was willing to travel and willing to meet all sorts of people. And it took me actually quite a bit of time to do it, because I went on my first really long trip when I was 28. So it took me actually 8 years. But for the duration of these 8 years, I knew that at some point I would leave. I knew that it was just a matter of time where I would, pick up a backpack, buy a plane ticket, and just go somewhere. And just not. It was just a matter of saving some money, and then having the right time in my life, and and then I did it. And then I bought this ticket, and I went on this trip, and I was like, yeah, all right, this is what I want to do. uh and it actually was that even clearer when I got on the bike, because at first I was just backpacking, and then I started bike touring, and then it was like, okay, this is my place now. I know where my place is. I know what I need to do, what I want to do. I don't want the 9 to 5 and the house and the kids, and I don't want that. I want something different, and I want to see the world, and I want to see it from a bike. And it all came from just, yeah, this book, and a few other movies that were set up in Southeast Asia, where I was like kind of in awe of this really foreign land, and willing to see that. And then the combination of willing a different life, and the attraction that I felt for this part of the world, it just yeah, made me leave for that place, and then just discover that the way of life that I wanted to experience was just on the road, not 100% on the road, but yeah, for at least 50% on the road.
Yeah, I'm quite similar to Soph, that I think I always knew I did want a different life and not feel trapped and not do kind of like the standard route. But I think the question was about mentors and role models, and I definitely lacked those. But what I did have was, once I left home quite young and started traveling the world again, like as a backpacker and then a bike tourer, and like on through the evolution. And you just meet people along the way. You meet another cycle tourist. Like, I remember when I was backpacking and I met a cycle tourist, and I genuinely didn't know you were allowed to just travel the world by bicycle. I thought that was mind blowing. So you have like these small interactions along the way that maybe like build up what you become and help you be more creative and think about what are different ways I could do it. But I did notice that I lacked a role model, and especially as a young woman, I don't know if it's different for men, but like I definitely have always felt that for every one person who tells me like, go for it, you can do this, that's such a cool idea, there's probably at least 25 people telling me, absolutely don't do that, that's a terrible idea, you're going to get hurt. So that's why I've kind of started doing what I do, the way that I do it, with the social media side as well, like trying to just tell people, you've got this, go for it, like think about your own challenges, and try to be a positive role model for people if I can.
Yeah, actually, that was my next question. Like, are you aware of your role, like the fact that you're a role model for young girls and young women who really wants to start backpacking right now? And is this just something like special to deal with? Do you feel like responsible of something?
Yeah, I mean, I consider it a really huge honor. Like, when I get messages from women, or especially young girls, that say they want to do something, or they heard me give a talk or whatever, and that made them go on their first bike ride or something, like that'll move me to tears. Like, it is really important to me. And it's something that, especially I think we're meant to be talking about the AMR and the Atlas. I definitely was thinking about that quite a lot, because it'd be worth another hour's talk, so let's not get into it. But I mean, there were a lot of issues for gender differences on that race. And so it was something that I spent quite a lot of hours pedaling my bike thinking about what I'm doing here, and how that represents women in our sport and in other sports, and women who like to travel, and like what it would mean to them if the 12 of us can manage to perform in this race. So that was like, it was a pressure, but not in a negative way at all. It was something I felt really honored by.
Yeah, that's definitely, thank you for mentioning it, Jenny, because we've had a couple of questions, but it's definitely something that we could talk probably for hours at length on. Aware that we're starting to run a little bit over time, so I've picked the last question from the audience, which is, what advice would you give to someone getting started for long or longer rides and sport adventures?
Okay, this is an abuse of my last name, and it is really corny, but the best advice I can give you is that you're tougher than you think. That's a lesson that I've learned. That's a lesson that I keep on relearning. I mean, when I started the Atlas race, I literally started at the back of the pack when the gun went off at 9 a.m. because I was just like, I don't belong here. These people are better than me. I can't ride a bike. Kind of like, I do this every time. And then when I got over the second pass that day and I got to CP1 before it was dark and just kind of realized like, oh yeah, like you're always better than you think you are. You're always tougher than you think you are. There are going to be problems the whole way through, but you're going to find a way to rise to that challenge. So all I would say is just back yourself. Go for it.
Yeah, I think I would say dream big. Just if you feel like you want to do long rides, just you can start, doing it progressively, but I feel like the end goal should be big, dream big and have the ambition of doing something huge, I mean, not huge in terms of how good you're gonna be at, but how far you're gonna go, and it's just that it's a big world, and there's just so many people that, I mean, when you start exploring it, you discover there's just so many people out there doing it. It just blows your mind. You're like, for all my life, when I was not doing it, when I was not riding around the world, I had no idea there was just so many people doing it. There's a ton of people doing it, and you can do it too, and you should do it because it's just amazing. And I would say, yeah, my advice is dream big and just do it, and don't tell yourself, oh yeah, in 2024 I'm gonna do this and this. No, just do it when you can do it. Just make it happen fast.
Yeah, and if I can jump on the back of that, the whole dream big, like I really agree with that. But also just thinking like dream big means like, what does big mean to you? I think we have a real culture and adventure of being like first and fastest and worrying about what other people are doing with their adventures, and social media probably perpetuates that and makes it really hard. But I mean, what's an adventure to you is an adventure to you. It's not a contest. If you want to do the West Highland Way, then like, don't worry about the fact that it's already been done. It's a really awesome hike. Go for it. Like, do what's going to challenge you. Worry about your own comfort zone. Don't worry about anyone else's.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I guess remember that we all started somewhere.
Yeah. At the bottom. Usually you start at the bottom, and that's where I started.
Yeah, me too. Crying on the side of the road because I didn't know how to fix a puncture. True story.
Cool. I think we're done. Like, yeah, we were at like maybe one quarter. Like it's like 7:15. So thank you guys for like sharing this time with us. Just sharing my screen once again now that I'm back on the internet. If you have like your phone like near you, don't hesitate to give a follow to the two guests we had tonight. Like, I don't know if you see my screen. Yes, you can see 2 QR codes. Like basically you can follow them on Komoot, and I think it's kind of the best place to follow their adventures when they will be able to ride out like every one of us. So
Soon.
Yeah. So we hope like this was an inspiring conversation for you guys, and like we'll get back to you with a follow-up email with the replay of the talk, or hopefully on its entirety, like, because like, yeah, sorry for the 5 minutes dropout, but I think like 95% of the talk will be available, and feel free to jump in like, we'll send you like further dates or further webinars in English, in French, or in different languages, so feel free to jump in as well. We still have some really great things to see in a couple of weeks, in the next few weeks. Last word from you guys. Last word from you, Elle.
I just want to say thanks so much to Jenny and Sofiane and Matthias for fielding the questions so expertly. I'm really sorry we didn't have a chance to ask every question, but just looking through them, there's definitely some great material here for further blog posts, interviews, and maybe chats as well. So lots of material. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night, and yeah, see you on the road.